Hello again, I'm Dean Jones, President and CEO of Realogic Sotheby's International Realty. And today our podcast is going to be broker perspectives, but even more than brokers, my two guests are nobility in the industry of real estate. And our queen bee, Shannon Olcese, and we've got our king and our designated broker, Tim McCanta. I am so proud of you guys, first of all, not just because we get to work together professionally, but I enjoy your personalities and we have a lot of fun in our offices. But it is serious business too, and you've got a lot you're taking care of, especially during these crazy times, the inflection point, a lot of growth in the company, a lot of change in the industry. But before we get into more kind of coffee talk on that, let's learn a little bit about each of you. So let's start ladies first. Shannon,
oh boy.
Tell our audience something most of our brokers and our audience would not know about you.
Oh boy. I feel like everybody knows most of my dirt, but let's see here. I am a big cook. Everybody
You are.
Yep. After work, my big relaxing time is watching cooking shows, and I love my cats. Shout out to Martin and Lucy.
Nice.
Love to dance. I love the culture at the company, but I think that those are the most kind of the hot points that most of the brokers know, or Tim knows.
Well, you're going to feel right at home with some of our announcements on our retail storefronts, bringing the food and beverage industry right into our industry. So we'll see you in that kitchen. And Tim, how about you? We all know you're a golfer, but what do we not know about Tim?
Oh, what do you not know about me? My first love was basketball growing up.
Tim, basketball.
Yep. At 5'7", that kind of limited that career.
I mean, you and I could like clean the underneath of tables together, but we're not
Exactly.
basketball players, are we? Or are you?
Yeah, I was a basketball player. We grew up with a real good group of friends, and I think the one thing most people would never realize, we were state champs, and I was captain of the team. So that was kind of a fun deal, and we're 50-some years later, we're all still very close. So.
Well, I mean, you've been a captain of our team for a long while. You both have, both as branch managers and as executives, and I rely on you very much. I mean, it's not a well-kept secret. I'm not licensed. I add a unique value to this business, but I depend so greatly on you and your expertise. And these are difficult times. We're going through a lot of change in the industry, and our agents are always needing your support. How do you describe your role, Shannon? I'll start with you. I mean, as you break up kind of the pie chart of how you exist in this role and how you serve your client.
I think the most important part is obviously the brokers. Both of us have been have done a million transactions ourselves back in the day when we were in production. So the most important part is not forgetting what you're going through when you're in production.
Right.
And so when the brokers are coming in and you have this changing market and you have these identifying new forms that come into play and understanding how to put these deals together, it's a very win-win mentality we have. Tim and I both kind of function the same way with the brokers. We're trying to always teach them how to do a win-win with putting these transactions together. But I think it's a challenging market. So sometimes the brokers are coming in and it's literally working on some new situations that we've never experienced before.
Okay.
And so as we dive into more of the coffee talk, we have new forms that are in place that we've never had. People don't know how to utilize them, and sometimes you're dealing with agents on the other side of the transaction that don't know how to use them at all. So sometimes we're in the position, because our brokers are trained so well, that we are actually training on the other side of the transaction as well. And so it's a challenge all around, but most of the time, we have a great record with our agents being able to get it done because they're well educated. And so our job is to constantly be educating ourselves so we can educate them.
Well, and I like what you said about focusing on the win, which at the end of the day, it's two parties coming together over a transaction. And sometimes you can educate the other side too, right?
Absolutely.
Saying, here's what it's going to take, or here's what I've had experience before. And let me tell you a story. And Tim, you've always got stories, which I think is a great way to learn.
I find that people, if you tell them a story with the point you're trying to make, it's easier to remember, and the why, also why it's important. I think my role, I look at it as a coach and teacher. That's kind of my passion, really. And a friend. I think you get to know these people. When you hire a broker, when they come into the company, you don't just get their real estate life. You get you get everything else: the girlfriends, boyfriends, cats, dogs, the whole 9 yards. But that's what makes it fun. And I think, as we said, we work really hard, but work and having fun are not mutually exclusive.
I'm really glad you said that because I mean, on a rare occasion, hopefully, only on a rare occasion, you look at your phone and it's that particular agent, or it's the matter that you're trying to resolve with an agent, and it gives us a little bit of anxiety, right? But the reality is you guys are always available, you're constantly on, and you're living the transaction with your agents as well as your peers. And I mean, you're carrying that weight with you. You're thinking about it when you're cutting up, your garlic and making your special sauce, or you're swinging the golf club. I mean, do you sort of wear their issues with you?
Oh, I think so. I mean, if you care about somebody, you care about them.
Yeah.
And I would tell my friends when they would ask about real estate, I don't know any good realtor that doesn't wake up at 2 a.m. They're not worried about the commission check. They're worried about their client.
Yes.
They wake up in that cold sweat, and they really do care about their people, and we care about our brokers the same way. Yes, I have woken up at 2 a.m.
Right.
Worried about my broker and hoping they're okay. And sometimes it has nothing to do with real estate. It might be some personal issue they have with them.
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes our company special, is the caring that we do have for each other.
It's empathy.
It's empathy, yeah.
It's understanding. And I've recalled in the past your approach to resolving problems in very stressful situations with your agents, Tim, is to just listen.
I think that's the most important thing for a manager to do. A lot of times they'll come into the office, they'll start talking, and you might know where it's going, but it's important to listen to them first. They're really not ready to hear the answer till they've been heard. And every once in a while, you think you know where they're going, and they throw a curveball at you at the end. So it's fun. I think the really the most important part when people ask me, what's the most important thing you do in your job every day? And I go, I listen.
Right. And are you, Shannon, is your approach in inspiring your agents to give them the answer that they need, or do you draw it out of them through conversation?
Oh, it's definitely through conversation. I mean, as Tim just mentioned, a lot of times you're sitting there with somebody and it's a 15-minute conversation, and it's not until the end that you get to the kind of the nugget or the root of the issue. And a lot of times they do have the answer. It's just talking it through. I mean, there's lots of times where we get a phone call where they just need to talk it through to make sure that they are correct, or that they're doing the right thing, or that they're putting things in place that are going to make the situation better. So it's listening is key in this job. You can't do it without good relationship with the agent, so they trust you, which is a big part of it. I know that the brokers come in and, like Tim said, they share everything that's going on. So a lot of times in these transactions, you do know what's going on the personal side of our broker's client. All know why they need to move and what's going on with their family and why they're stressed about it and concerned. And so you do get emotionally involved with every transaction.
Yeah. Well, it must be rewarding too when they win and you win and the company wins and the client wins. I mean, it's a good feeling all around. And speaking about, being open and kind of the hospitality approach that you both serve in our venues and our real estate branches. I mean, these are like living rooms, right? Beautiful retail locations. How do you see the use of the office space in our future as a real estate community, and what you see your company doing that's going to make us a little different? Shannon.
Well, first of all, our office spaces are beautiful. So, I mean, the goal is that when these agents come in, that they feel very comfortable, that it's a place where they feel not just that it's lovely, but also that the staff is warm and that they can walk in the door and go, wow, this has been really challenging. They feel comfortable speaking to us. They feel really good about bringing their clients in, because their clients are going to have the same experience. They're going to have a great office administrator that's going to chat with them. They're going to have a manager that's going to come up and introduce themselves. And it should be a comfort space to work in.
Yes.
It shouldn't be that closed off,
doctor's office.
Yeah,
and
we
some
don't want
commercial
that.
office park.
No.
I mean, there's a place for that, but I think our approach has always been to be very bespoke to the neighborhood that we serve. A very proud retail storefront. We love the food and beverage partnerships. We just announced one with Adrian Lopez in your branch office. Well, technically, they're all your offices, Tim. You're the designated broker, but you take particular care of Bellevue, which is a flagship office for us. And we're opening Jocovine, which is a brand new bistro concept by Adrian Lopez. And that's under construction right now. I'm just weeks away. Are you excited?
Pretty excited. I heard a lot of rumbling upstairs this morning. They were going at it pretty hardcore. And on that community thing, Dean, I'd like to also, one of the things we're very proud of is our Bainbridge office.
Oh my gosh, yes, for
and
sure.
it's right in the heart of Bainbridge there.
Winslow Way.
Winslow Way. And the first Friday of every month, we have an art walk, and that's really the center of town. We put on a nice spread. We have a little band that plays, and people come and gather. They're dancing out front, and it's really become part of the community, and they really look forward to it. And I think that's something. Well, our office manager, Marilyn, has definitely been a powerful force in getting that going. And people, they recognize us. We're kind of a real member of the community, and I think they appreciate that we're not just there selling real estate. We actually give back.
Well, you do, and you support a lot of the programs, and both, Bainbridge and Bellevue is best of, chosen by voters as the top real estate office. Same for Kirkland. I mean, these are very proud attributes, and we couldn't have done it without you. And I love that you brought up Marilyn. Of course, there's Shelley and all of our office managers that have been with us in many cases for more than a decade. And I was teasing Marilyn the other day. I said, I think you're the mayor of Bainbridge Island.
She definitely is.
But she is so welcoming, and just the way that space opens up to the retail storefront and how we use it with arts. And it's not just like let's hang some free art on the wall and drink some wine. We are moving art. I mean, obviously that touches back to our pedigree with Sotheby's Auction House, but we have about an 8-month wait list for artists to feature in Bainbridge Island. We do the same on Mercer Island with Denise Seavitt and her office there, and I believe we're out a year. So it would take 12 months for a new artist to get featured there. And now we're talking about opening it up in Bellevue as well as Kirkland so that we can create wine walks, art walks, things that are, culturally connected for our agents to bring in their clients and also to celebrate. And, maybe this will be a point of conversation, which is we like to do things that get noticed. We like to have fun, spark conversations that lead to real estate. And I think the retail storefronts are a great way to kind of create that living room for our agents to collaborate and celebrate with their clients.
Well, they're part of the community, too.
Right.
And so they love to participate and help Chrissy Robertson Kirkland and all the work she does with the city of Kirkland.
Yeah, KDA, the Downtown Association. Giving back. I think this Sunday, actually, they're cleaning up the streets of Kirkland, so watch for them. There's still a T-shirt waiting for you if you're not golfing there. Now, you both have come from different backgrounds. Let's first of all talk about your real estate background. You both practice real estate. Yep. You were both with very large companies. Shannon, you made a move to us a couple years ago. Very challenging times to make a move. What do you take away now that you look back on it from the journey that you started with Realogic Sotheby's International Realty and how that contrasts to where you were in the past?
Well, I've transitioned from several different firms. The last one that I was working with, I managed a couple different of their offices.
Okay.
And I will say that moving over, the one thing that was really important to me that I really wanted was culture.
Yes.
And so I found that some of these larger firms, the offices were very disconnected. You may have an office in down south or in Bellevue or wherever, but they didn't necessarily work together as a cohesive group. And I found that really detrimental to the agents. And so part of when I moved, I really wanted to have this environment where if it was an agent who worked in Seattle, they could come to Kirkland and the managers worked well together. And I knew these agents from different offices and we could rely on each other. The managers could work really well together, which we do. We work excellent together. We all kind of have the same mindset, but the culture aspect is the most unique thing that I found with RSIR. And so, it's nothing like I've seen. Even the way that the staff interacts is really unique. Everybody genuinely likes each other and we have a good time together. And I think that trickles down to the brokers because the brokers feel that the staff cares about each other and then it floats down and it just creates a really warm environment. So that has been the biggest thing that I've appreciated the most is just the culture.
Well, thank you for contributing to that. I mean, obviously, your living room is in Kirkland, but also in Belltown, and I know you guys sort of maintain this brain trust with you and Denise and her assistant managers as well to share the load because we've got 6 offices, we've got 3 dedicated managers, and we have an assistant manager in several of the offices, and then your office staff, and then all the broker care team and the marketing department and the different divisions and transaction coordinators and so on and so on. But you said something that really triggered me is the sense that we're a good-sized brokerage company, but we're small enough to care, but that the level of service and the attention to the craft that we practice in real estate is very consistent no matter which office you roll into. And you might be licensed in Kirkland but hanging out with Marilyn on Bainbridge Island, and you're being served just the same. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. Our broker care team is it's probably one of the most unique things about the company. Our broker care staff is phenomenal with the agents. I can't even highlight them enough because they are the caretakers. They are the ones that when these agents are in a pinch, it doesn't matter which office it is, they've all been trained the same, so they're going to get the same level of support. They need flyers, they need assistance with a market report or whatever the scenario is. Broker care is trained up, they know how to do it, and they actually take great pride in the agents feeling good about whatever they've done together when they leave the office. It's nothing like I've ever seen in any other brokerage. And like I said, I've been a part of some rather large brokerages, so it's phenomenal.
And I love that sort of transparency between the offices and that level of support. And I mean, the ultimate compliment that we like to give out to those that are really going above and beyond is that Swiss Army knife designation. And it's where you might have a primary role in the company, but you're willing to jump in behind with everybody, you know, whether that's setting up for an event or just being there as an emotional support team, you know, when people are going through things. And there's been a lot that we've all gone through. Tim, let's jump over to you. You've been with some really large national companies, and you've been in a lot of different positions, and now you're at the top of the food chain here at Realogic Sotheby's International Realty.
Well, I think it's interesting. I feel like I've kind of come full circle. I started my career with a small one-office broker owner, and it was a very tight office and real good culture. Everybody cared for each other. It was a unique office. And that owner sold to another larger firm and went there, and it was an international firm. They were large. But it was interesting. Each office kind of operated in its own silo. And there wasn't a lot of connectivity per se among the offices. Coming over to RSIR, the interesting thing was, although we do have 6 offices, we actually work as one. And I think one of the unique things I noticed right off the bat when I came here was there were no silos. The broker care, which I will also jump on, that phenomenal. I've never seen so many people in multiple offices work so well together. If someone needs help in one office, there's no hesitation. They don't even have to ask. They just jump right in and do it. From the office managers, broker care, Clay, everybody we have, not only do they work so well together, they actually like each other. When we get together, there's an opportunity to, should I go or not go? These people want to go, and they like being together. They enjoy each other's company. And I think it's such a nice, tight family atmosphere. That they care for each other. You can see that. I mean, when I first came here, I'd stand back and I was watching all this because this was like new to me. And it was really impressive to watch all these people and even the brokers too, how they really do care about each other. Well, I think one of the things as a company and everybody has figured out that I'm very proud of actually is they've understood that the more we help each other and collaborate, the bigger the pie gets for everyone. There's nobody protecting their own turf or anything like that. It's really a collaborative group, and I've noticed that with new agents that have come over. It's one of the first things they notice is, geez, what a nice, really good, friendly group, but how collaborative everyone is too.
I mean,
and that's what they're looking
larger
for.
Companies more competitive internally, just like, you know, the phone call comes in or something's on the fax machine, even if anyone has a fax machine any longer. My pager went off. Just 1 second. Just kidding. But that they are, you know, so focused on mine, and as opposed to the we. And I noticed that in some of our marketing and sharing of stats that our agents that are looking for more business development are able to borrow the statistics of the company and say our firm is accomplishing this. And it's really not about market share because the brokerage itself does not sell the real estate or assist the buyer in a transaction. It's the individual agent. So it really matters the performance of the individual agent and who they are and how they present themselves, and that, you know, we are eager to fly with eagles here. And the stats that you all have generated speak for themselves. I mean, top production on a per agent basis, highest average selling prices and listing prices on both sides of the transaction, typically lowest days on market, higher retained commission rates, and the greatest inventory on a per agent basis. and all within a relatively boutique, mindset. So these are powerful agents that are, outperforming their peers when you compare to the top 10 largest brands, many of which are much larger companies. So how do you reconcile that someone would want to be in a more boutique, family-oriented company like RSIR, but still have that drive and thirst for those productive numbers?
I think most of the people that we attract, the brokers that we attract, they're looking for culture.
Okay.
That's really important. That's probably the first thing they say when they come over. They're coming from a firm where either nobody's in the office or everybody works in their own silos. There's not a lot of collaboration. They really want culture first. They want to feel part of a team. They want to feel that family atmosphere, really. And that's the type of people I hope we attract.
Yeah.
We want them in. We want to hire nice people. And I think we do a pretty good job at that. And they just feel, the one thing I hear when brokers do come, the one thing that they feel like they're missing, that connection. They want to feel connected. They want to be a part of something. And when they come into our offices and they talk with us, they really feel that. They can see that. We don't really have to explain. They can just see it, how people react to each other, how they're helping each other. One of the other unique things, I think, is most of our high-end producers and anybody that's been successful, they didn't get there by themselves.
Right.
And one of the things I'm proud of is those who have become successful, they're not afraid to turn around, reach the hand down, and help that next person up. We have several brokers that put on classes for the other brokers. They're willing to share their knowledge. They want everyone to be an excellent broker, and they care about their peers.
Well, it matters, and that's a brand that we share, and it's consistent around the world. I mean, I know I've done some travel, and you probably have too, where you see a Sotheby's International Realty sign, on the street corner, and you walk in there, and you're just treated like, an out-of-town family member, and it's powerful, like nearly 28,000 agents around the world, and obviously similar stats in most of these, regions and territories where they are dominant in luxury, but also, focused on selling all property types and price points. So Shannon, coming back to you, because you wear a couple of hats. Not only are you a wonderful cook, but also a fabulous culture builder and a branch manager. But let's talk about the RSIR Invitational, this mission that we're on right now to responsibly grow and fill our shoes and, seek out our Thrive in 25 business model. What are you doing on the TA team?
Well, we have a fantastic TA team. We're really excited about it. They're all, our goal is to bring in the quality agents that want to level up, that want to take their business to the next level. And so the one thing that we have created, or I should say that you all have created, is we have this magnificent outline when somebody comes forward and raises their hand and says, I really want to be a part of the brokerage. Not only on the culture side of it, but also just on the tools that we can help support their business, whether it's through social media, whether it's through just business development on a whole. We have an actual kind of business outline for them. And so when I'm talking to somebody, or when the talent team is talking to somebody, we're trying to identify where their weakness is in their business and where we can support them. And a lot of times, because the tools are right there, they're readily available, we can identify it just through a conversation. Okay, we see this is the one little nugget that we need to add to your business that's going to bring in perhaps 2 or 3 more transactions. And so our goal as a talent team is to really listen, figure out how to play this out, how to level them up, how to support them. And fortunately, because we have all these different departments, we can support them.
I love that. And it's in talent acquisition, it really has to be a marriage and alignment, if you will, between what are you trying to achieve, what tools do we have to help you reach your goals, and then ultimately that'll be measured by the only numbers that matter at the end of the year, which is 1099. If this is a business and they're looking for more production, and fortunately for us, we have case study after case study of successful agents that came in as maybe a C producer, they became a B, and now they're on their way to becoming one of those A producers, or they're working towards their legacy plan. Let's talk about that for a second. We all will sunset in life and in business, but Tim, do you have to sunset your business career?
No, I think what's happening and what we try and capture too is as people head for retirement and looking to take a step back, they've built this great business. What are they going to do with it? Well, we have a plan for them how to transition that business, and still receive commissions as they're retired.
Right.
It's a great program. We've got several people in it now, and I think they're taking advantage of it. It's something where this is the last place they'll ever need to work.
And it can perpetuate as you're traveling and networking around the world. I know a couple of our agents recently renovated a beautiful condominium in the south of France, and they are enjoying, doing business just differently around the world. But just because they're out of, the local market doesn't mean they're out of touch with their career. And if you one day choose not to transact, what you're saying, Tim, is through the Realogics Referral Exchange program with the appropriate branding and support with social media and some of the automation that we've now built up, it is very possible to continue generating business leads while, you may not be actively working on those transactions yourself, but your team is. And that's a point of distinction because a lot of companies' business models are built around how many agents are paying for these fees, how many agents are filling those seats, and it's very much agent count, head count oriented. Our business model is very different. It's about productivity, literally a partnership between our independent contractors, the agents, and all of us on the executive team. And our thirst is to help build their business, and if that includes expanding your team by bringing on teammates, how many times have we helped an agent that was at the kind of pinnacle of their individual career realizing that they needed to just broaden their team and bring in a couple of teammates to get more balance in life, but also to ultimately build into that legacy plan. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, well, Shannon? we as you mentioned, we have a lot of these agents that get to a point in their career where they need to start leveraging their business model. And it takes obviously managers or staff to kind of help them realize that they can go to the next level by just adding that administrative assistant, or perhaps they have a showing agent. But the nice thing is because we have this collaborative environment, while they may transition fully into the legacy program at some point, they also are developing this internal relationships so they can get there without, over time. So by the time they're ready to kind of go into the sunset and, hang out on a beach, they have a nice team member or team members in place that are going to manage their business the same way they did. And that's really reassuring to them because they have this nice book of business, this big, database that they want to make sure is serviced in the same way that they had serviced them. And so we take great pride in that. They have the ability to train them, to work with them, to collaborate with them. And if it's something that they can't service, perhaps even in the Bellevue area, because they've developed these relationships in maybe Bainbridge Island or downtown Seattle, they have another teammate in different locations. It's all about the collaboration. And so, when we're sitting down and we're doing these collab hours, there is nothing that is not open for discussion.
Yeah.
Our best producers are willing to share, their best systems, their best models, what they're doing to leverage their business, how they're getting more business just through being a productive, solid broker. But nothing is untouched. It's open discussion.
It strikes me as, and those are snowballing, and they're getting bigger and more effective. And the three words that come to mind is inspiration, education, activation. If you like the status quo, then just keep doing what you're doing. But if you want to show up and get inspired by people that are doing it a little bit differently, they will share with you and they will educate you on how to do it, and then they will create accountability to activate so that there's a cause and effect from your efforts. I noticed you mentioned referrals, and that's a big part of our network because we have some very significant agents that have done great, top producers in their backyard, but they've also realized that they can sell the world, and the same clients that they might be buying or selling with locally desire sea, sand, snow, sun, or surf destinations anywhere. Tim, walk me through some examples of the Sotheby's aha moment that you've witnessed.
Well, our two gals there in the south of France.
Yes.
They say they'll be sitting at tea, and there'll be someone they'll recognize. Oh, that sounds like an American accent. Where are you from? What do you do? Oh, you're in real estate. Yeah, I'm with Sotheby's. You are. And they've actually picked up a couple listings and some clients by being at their condo in the south of France. People travel around. I think most of our agents, when they do travel, do make a point of stopping in at the offices, introducing themselves, talking to either the branch manager or some of the brokers there, and just starting to build a relationship. And it's surprising how well that has paid off for them. That's a really good source of business for them, and they recognize that, and so a lot of them, they plan their vacations and trips to Sotheby's offices. They want to build their business. It's fun. It's a good way. They can write it off also, but they also get a chance to actually meet some really good agents around the country too.
And I don't think you have to be shy about playing up your GPS wherever you are in the world, and you can bring in a little bit of business. And I think that that's part of our job in content marketing, in inspiring our audience to not realize perhaps that this was something I learned about when I was in Arizona, or when I was in Sun Valley, or here is a tax advantage I learned about living in Florida. I mean, just the whole migration for taxation or for lifestyle. There's a lot of reasons why people will be making a move, and they're not always across the street or across the sound. They're literally interstate. And it's a big differentiator for us, because I think there's some very large companies in our backyard, but they don't have that international connection or even the interstate connection. And even if they did, if they don't have the same kind of collaboration that you're both speaking of, and the confidence in the culture and that connectiveness, then the transactions just won't flow. But we're seeing some of our top producers with as much business in referral as they have in their traditional model.
Yeah, a lot of these, like you said, a lot of these agents, as long as wherever they travel, they're stopping in, they're making those relationships, they're dropping off their cards, they're interacting. I just had an agent actually in Kirkland who was in New York, made a great connection. She now has a friend who's purchasing in New York. She's connected the two. They have several things in common. And here she goes. Now they've got this referral network between the two of them, and it's going to transcend. And so it also pushes out on the global side of things when we have a listing. Our brokers, it's very unusual that you have the ability to push out a beautiful listing on a global platform.
Right.
And so we're getting some of this business just by people calling from wherever they are, out of the country, and saying, God, I saw that beautiful listing. I'd really like to meet so-and-so. And then they're making this come together. That's unusual.
Well, we had a couple of our top agents on the show a couple of weeks ago, and they talked about collaborating by lifestyle. So it was a ranch property, but they weren't sure if the ranch was going to be in Colorado, it was going to be in Idaho, maybe Oregon, or Washington. It was going to be one of these 4 states. And so the collective decided to entertain this client, and they all partnered up and said, well, whoever is going to land this sale will obviously receive the primary benefit of that transaction, but everyone was going to collaborate on it because they literally wanted to better serve the client and not say, well, I'm going to sell you this because I'm in Washington. The reality is people desire a beach, or they desire an equestrian environment, or they want skiing, or they want waterfront, and you can find that in a lot of different locations. And if you're truly serving your client and having the vision and also the connections to these other markets, you can sell this similar product type in a different state. And the referral exchange, you're in business, you can make that anything that you think is fair. And I think that's something else that's very different about us, because it better serves the client, and that can come your way too when the next opportunity is seeking out your advantage.
I was going to say, one of the things that I like about our structure is we get paid when the broker gets paid. Right. And really what that means is we serve our clients. And when our brokers are working with either a buyer or seller and they sit down, we encourage you to tell them it's not just them sitting there. It's that broker, it's their office manager, it's the branch manager, it's you, Dean. We're all there to help them be successful. And we all make money when we're successfully close, help a client. Sometimes it's not even the sale, but it's not just that one person sitting there. As a company, you have all these people behind that person that might be in front of the client that's supporting them, and they know that. I think that's a real powerful way of doing business, and it's certainly the type of model that I've always that was the best.
Well, thank you. And I think we don't retire our energy for the agent when they reach a cap in their commission sharing or anything like that. I mean, we're on all the time. And you know what? We're also trying to go to where we think the market is going next. Just this week, we had a showcase at one of our condominium towers in downtown Seattle, the Greystone. And that was the first time a lot of those agents stepped into that building or really explored the renaissance in the city that's taking shape right now. And, we have a new developments division, and this is becoming more and more comfortable for you all to understand how important that is to our business, because we have anemic inventory and we need to go to where the market's going next and get there first. Shannon, share with us some of your views about how our agents are becoming more activated through white label marketing tools and putting themselves in play to help represent these new development projects, whether they're in the city or over the mountains.
Well, we have to change with the market. We have to evolve with the market. And so fortunately, because we have this division, our agents are starting to understand how to utilize the beautiful space, how they can be creative with a potential buyer who may need to move, but we have programs in place where they can move before perhaps selling. And so it's if we aren't changing with the market, we aren't coming up with creative ways to shift, we're struggling, right? And so the whole point of having our agents go to this beautiful site was to see what's out there. As supply and demand is short, we have to start thinking about that. We have to start looking at ways to get people to move into their dream scenario with whatever program is going to make that happen.
Right.
And so fortunately, we not only have Greystone, we have various divisions, which I'm sure you'll talk about, where the agents are starting to utilize that just for their own personal marketing as well. They want to see that they aren't just a one lane agent, that they're into new construction, they're into resale, we have commercial, they have access to everything. It's just about how they want to create their business and where they want to put their energy.
Well, and all the D's of transactions, you got the death, the divorce, the dislocation, but it's also the desire to, and discretionally, look at some other lifestyle that might not have existed before, because we're getting back to, I think, a sense of confidence that, I was locked in because of my mortgage rate or because of COVID or because of uncertainty in the economy. But now we've got, the Dow Jones setting new benchmark records. We all know that these mortgage rates are going to come down. The buy then refi strategy, Tim, is something that we're seeing increasing volumes of buyers because they realize that I'm going to get a better deal right now when there's less competition, even though there's not a lot of supply. But what we're also finding is lifestyle trending with this hybrid work week or work from home. A lot of people are moving outside of King County, up into Clay Elum or Eastern Washington or North Kitsap County. And it was a responsibility of ours not only to represent those master plan communities, but to help educate our agents about these trends. And that is what might drive some of these brokers to play their role in inspiring a move that, might not otherwise be thinking that way. What are your views, Tim, about some of the trends that are changing migration patterns and housing demand around our region?
I definitely think the work from home has changed a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're looking at, what's convenient. It used to be I wanted to be, 2 minutes away, walk to work. And some of that's coming back. But I think that people... they've traditionally just thought of the single family home, here we go. But a lot of the both the younger and older crowd is looking at, they also like to be able to, lock the door and not have to worry about anything.
Right.
So a lot of these condominiums, which we're going to see more of at some point. Right now, it's a very limited product that's out there, and I don't think anything's going to be showing up new for several years.
That's right.
And to take advantage of the prices right now of where you're at, because the costs keep going up, nothing's going to get cheaper, and this is really a time to think about what's that next step going to be, and what are the possibilities. You talk about low inventory, and we talk about everybody wants affordable housing, but there just isn't enough.
Right.
And I checked this morning in my location where I lived, in a general area, and normally this time of year in a normal market, there's anywhere between 85 and 100 listings, single-family homes and condominiums. I checked this morning, there was 19.
Wow.
There's been times when I've looked on Bainbridge Island, especially within the last year, and there may be only, 4 or 5 listings, and there's a couple hundred agents out there. It's tons of buyers.
It is, and it's a desirable market, and I don't think it's going to be less expensive.
No.
So let's talk about a couple of industry things, and I want to thank you both for your leadership, not just in keeping everyone compliant, but lovingly educating us through challenging times, with all this National Association of Realtors lawsuit activity, or issues surrounding the pandemic. I mean, this was a very disruptive time. It was like wave after wave, and almost like waterboarding for our agents. And not everybody will survive that. But, you know, we've actually had very little attrition when it comes to our professionals working within our business. And, you know, Tim, I'm sensing that this disruption has caused a flight to quality and also a flight to quantity as I'm looking at the different business models. There's some that are rebating and saying, hey, I'll do this business and I'll give you half the commission back, or others that offer very low service, 0 retail locations, and just a place to hang your license. And we're seeing growth in both, and certainly we're seeing at the flight to quality. What do you think the trends are going to be going forward?
I think the smart people will go to quality. You always get what you pay for. And I think the quality, this is typically one of their biggest investments they own. And I always use the argument, well, which end of the stick do you want to look at? You're looking for quality and you want to get the best value, maybe selling your home, top dollar. You're not going to get that by hiring the cheapest out there. I always like to say, you know, follow the money. And I think the top brokers, the really top end brokers, they work with the top firms. And I think we're one of those. And we obviously, if you look at the inventory of listings that we have and the price range that we serve, and we do serve all price range, but we're definitely in the top end when you look at the luxury market. And those people, they're obviously very smart. They've been successful. And yet they realize if they want to get top dollar, they hire the best people. There's always the other end. The argument I would use with people is, what is your goal? Is it to sell your home for the cheapest cost possible, or to walk out of escrow with the biggest net check?
Right.
And those are two different things. And people have different goals. But I think the smart people are people that really look at the quality. They understand how important this is, and they want the best people working for them.
Well, especially on the buy side, Shannon, you know, I know there's new requirements to sign some buy side paperwork and say I'm representing you, and you know, you need to negotiate what that fee is going to be, and there's a lot of consternation out in the industry about, well, are these going to be compressions of fees? Our agents, you know, they need to value their time, and obviously that's up to them to decide, you know, what they are going to charge for their service. But their service goes well beyond looking at what's in the MLS, oftentimes off market and networking with targeted, you know, purchasing. How do you think that is an advantage for RSAR when we're comparing to some of the other brands?
Well, I think if we just look back, number one, we retain the highest commission rate as a brokerage. And I think if we let's start on that side of it, because we retain the highest commission rate because our agents are the most educated. They're going into these transactions with so many resources in order to push these listings out. They're going to get the most attraction of the most clients because of all that we have access to. So you can't go to a cheap brokerage. I hate using that word. That's probably not the right word, but an inexpensive brokerage, and expect that you're going to have the same level of service as you would with a full service brokerage, where you've got the marketing department, you've got all of these resources. So we're retaining this highest commission rate because of who we are, what we provide, and how these agents really are educating their own sellers as to what they're going to bring to the table. And so when we're looking at it from the buy side, I don't think that we as a brokerage have had the same challenges in some ways that some of the other brokerages are. Because when these agents are working with these buyers, they're able to articulate what their skill set is. They're able to educate the buyer on laying out a plan for them of how they're going to get them to where they need to be, what that looks like. And so if you're a broker who's a fly-by-night and just think you're going to go write an offer and you're going to get the job done, that's not going to do it.
Right.
Now
It's
hard work. You really have to know what you're bringing to the table, what that looks like, and how you're going to get this deal done.
Well, let's bring it home with you, Tim. Thank you for that, Shannon, and all the great work on the buy side. But let's talk about the listings. You know, our goal would be that the agent had an advantage well in advance of stepping on that threshold and into the living room of their future listing client. What are some of the advantages that you feel Realogics Sotheby's International Realty is bestowing to our agents that give them a little kick in their step and some confidence when they're asking for the business on a listing?
Well, our market reports, our waterfront reports, they come up with those. And I'll tell you just a story the other day where we were in a seller was interviewing multiple agents. And of course, everybody tells them, here's what we do, and here's our marketing. And when our agent showed up and laid out actually what we do and what it actually looks like, the seller was just blown away. He said, "Oh my God, this is really different. This is good." And that ended it right there. They got the listing. So you can talk about a lot of stuff, but when you actually see the quality, number one, of what we do produce, how we produce it, where we submit that to, and what our connections are, and then you listen to the brokers who are really so educated, so much more educated than the run-of-the-mill broker out there, and you see the pride that they have in the work that they do. It's a pretty easy sell.
I am so glad you used the word pride, and I'll just wrap up by saying that our agents have a lot of choice in where they could hang their license, and they are powerful, they are educated, and they are successful, and they choose to be with us. And I think a large reason for that is because of who you two are and the rest of our broker care team, and choosing to be with you in this culture that you described so wonderfully, and the advantages that we provide. And at this time in our industry, I think we really are learning how to separate the promises from the productivity, and how to separate those show ponies to true horsepower. And you guys represent the best of the industry. I'm so proud to be working along your side. I thank you for coming on the show and continuing our great work at this inflection point. There's growth ahead. There's legacies being built before us, and we're doing it all within this beautiful vessel with you guys at the helm right next to me, and I appreciate you. So, Tim, Shannon, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thanks for
to
having
our
us.
audience, we will see you next time on Market Perspectives or Broker Perspectives here at Realogic Sotheby's International Realty. Follow us on social media. Feel free to leave a comment. Until next time, we'll see you there.